If you can think back to any specific opportunity or event in your life that was a real defining moment for you, something that set you down a path that maybe made a big difference. Sometimes it's small, sometimes it's larger, maybe not as obvious, but I know exactly when my defining moment was. It started a couple years ago when I basically crashed a skip level meeting. A bunch of women in finance and engineer joined in and said, you know what, I'm gonna show up anyway. And they welcomed me with open arms. In this meeting, there was about 20 different women and 3 or 4 senior level VPs. And they talked about the state of the business, and then afterwards, they opened it up for questions. And all the women were silent. Nobody wanted to ask that first question. We were all either nervous, shy, embarrassed, or maybe like me, they felt like what they had to say wasn't relevant enough. I'm not gonna waste these women's time with my question. It's not important. I'll just hold on to it. Well, after an awkward pause and silence, nobody went first. So I finally went ahead and raised my question. I raised my hand and chickened out from asking my own question. I ended up asking one of the questions that they gave us, suggestions. But it got the ball rolling. Other women started asking questions. They started, stepping up. And then we got to a point where it was an awkward pause again. So I pushed myself outside of my comfort zone because contrary to what I am now, I'm actually not comfortable with public speaking. I get really nervous, but I purposely pushed myself out of my comfort zone because I said, you know what? If I'm thinking it, maybe somebody else is too. So I asked all of the VPs in general, if we're actively looking for opportunities to succeed and we're not finding anything, what do we do? And the question that one of these VPs gave me changed my life. It was such a simple answer, but that change of perception really opened my eyes. He looked at me and he said, when you can't find opportunities, you create them. And just that, it just sent a light bulb. And I was like, wow, how profound, what a difference that just change in perception makes. So of course, I created an opportunity and I set up a one-on-one with him. And in that meeting, that simple meeting that we had, it had a ripple effect that set me down a path that had a chain of events that led me into public speaking, that gave me so many wonderful opportunities to meet different people and to make a difference, and ultimately led me here. And I was so thankful for that meeting. And I almost missed that opportunity. Why? Because I felt like a fraud. I felt like an imposter, like whatever I had to say wasn't important. That's classic imposter syndrome. Now, women are more likely to have imposter syndrome than men. And what it is essentially you downplay your accomplishments, you think it's not important enough, you think that you're not important enough, and what you have to say is not that it doesn't matter, that you're a fraud, or you're gonna be found out as an imposter. Now let's switch gears a little bit and think about a statistic that some of you may have heard. So when men are applying for jobs, they apply when they meet 60% of the criteria. When women apply for jobs, they don't apply unless they meet 100% of the criteria. And why is that? Does that, are men more confident than women? Are men think that they're better? No, it's men believe that even though I only meet 60%, I am capable of getting that extra 40% on the job training. So they go for it. There's a lot of studies on why women wait till they're 100%, and it's actually not that they don't have confidence. They believe in themselves and they believe in their abilities. But the reason they're not is because they feel like they're a fraud. How can I apply for something and say I meet 100% when I don't actually meet 100%? They feel like it's deceitful, and they don't want to be called an imposter. So they wait until they get to the 100%. Maybe that's why we don't have enough women in leadership. Yes, there is definitely systemic issues. Yes, there are problems with representation, and there are fundamental issues in our system that are not allowing women to progress. But if enough women aren't even applying, how are we going to change the needle? How are we going to get ahead? So if we can overcome or even embrace our imposter syndrome, maybe, just maybe, we can bridge that gap a little bit. Because honestly, we are not at a time where we can just sit back on the sidelines anymore. We cannot wait for somebody else to speak up and take that first step. Because how are we going to show up for women everywhere without showing up for ourselves first? So join me today, because I promise to not let my imposter syndrome stop me, and don't let it stop you from all your defining moments. Thank you.